Whether you need a trusted primary care provider, advanced surgical care, or community wellness programs, we are here for you. As a proud sponsor of the United Way, we invite you to learn more about our mission of compassionate care at stjosephhospital.com.
Feeling lucky, Nashua? It's time to win big here at Nashua Bingo, our local hotspot for thrills, chills, great food, and jackpots. Dive into high-stakes bingo action every night with huge payouts and electric energy that keeps the good times rolling. Craving more? Hit up our one-armed bandits. From spinning reels to flashing lights, the excitement never stops. And don't forget your Lucky 7 tickets with large bonuses. Just ask Chantel, who won $20,000, or Mary, who just won $25,000 on our tickets. Nashua, this is your sign. Grab your crew, grab your dabbers, and check out Nashua Bingo, easily located at Exit 2 in Nashua, next to Town Fair Tire. Nashua Bingo, where Nashua wins.
The views and opinions of the following show do not reflect those of WSMN, its owners, and/or associates.
Lisa and Robin are two fun friends diving deep into conversations where nothing is taboo. They believe in eating dessert before dinner and wearing the bikini. They're allergic to labels, authority, and cheap shoes. Currently, they're launching themselves through life being the good time, bold enough to take risks and inquisitively asking, what's next? They hail from New Hampshire, but they could be anywhere dressed in cute clothes. If they had to share a tombstone, it would read, "Curiosity killed these cats." Your hosts, Lisa and Robin on the mic.
Welcome. Welcome to another episode of Lisa and Robin on the mic. You are listening on WSMN 1590 AM, 95.3 FM. You can watch, stream, and listen on WSMN.live, as well as YouTube. Welcome to the happiest 2 hours of your week. I am in the studio with Robin, and today we are going to have a little bit of a conversation about mental health. May is Mental Health Awareness Month.
Yes, it is. Hey, and just a reminder that it's the taco tour in Manchester tonight.
Tonight, nice, and we'll have good weather for it. I don't think
well,
it's
my
supposed to
daughter just
rain.
texted me, and she's like, "Wait, I forgot to tell you I'm coming home. Taco tour is tonight."
Nice, in Manchester. So once a year, they have that. I remember last year.
It's huge. There's thousands of people that come out for it. We went. It was the last year or the year before, and we took my mom in, so the kids kind of just dispersed. But each shop right there, like Hanover Street, what's that, Elm Street right there, all the businesses come out and they do their own specialty kind of taco thing. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah, that's very exciting.
I don't know if I want to get
eat
into
your
the
body
mess,
weight.
but yeah, right.
In tacos. At one taco at a time.
Yes. I love tacos.
So one of the things I was thinking about with Mental Health Month is the fact that we talk about mental health and mental illness, right? And I was thinking about how there are benefits to receiving labels and also pitfalls to receiving labels.
What do you think the pitfalls are?
That you become a victim to and are confined by a label instead of being empowered by it.
If you allow
Or other people could dismiss you saying, well, you have X.
But it's our responsibility whether we're going to pick it up or put it down.
Mm-hmm.
Will you turn my volume up just a hair?
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm fidgety. There you go. That's better.
So I think there are benefits to finding, especially when you're dealing with health concerns, finding a name for something is very helpful at first. But then I think to be pigeonholed by it is a pitfall. Like, I've been in love with the series Love on the Spectrum.
Oh, God, I love it. Love that
So
show.
at first I was afraid it was going to be a reality TV show making fun of or trying to create drama around it.
Yeah.
But it is the opposite
Yes.
of that. And it's a great show. But what I loved is when they introduce each person, they say 3 things you like and 3 things you don't like. And I love when they go on a date, they bring little presents with them.
Yes.
And it's called penguin pebbling, because penguins give pebbles to as part of their mating
Yes.
ritual. and they all have this as like a love language. And I thought we could all take notes from Love on the Spectrum in our regular everyday life.
Yes.
And I also think that, you know, they were using a label as a benefit because they understood that there are challenges, but they gave them constant mechanisms to cope. Like, how did your date go? You know, don't forget to ask her about herself.
Yes.
You know, and I think, well, couldn't so many people hear that in the dating world today? Not on the spectrum.
Right. Yes.
Couldn't ever, you know,
Well,
could
part
we
of
get
what
some
I love
tips?
about that show too is just the realness, the authenticity, and they're saying it's they don't have the same filter that we do. In some ways, they'll say, "No, I didn't. That made me feel uncomfortable," or "I didn't like that," or just hearing their
Which I all think we can benefit from.
yes, but saying like, "I really like this person, but there's something here that's," and they tell that person, and then
Yes.
that person is also receives it. Like you can kind of see, like if I remember one of them, he got his feelings hurt a little bit, but he did come back around. Like he accepted it. And a lot of times you can't say something that you don't like about someone, and it not be received like, "Hey, I get that."
But think about how many times in the dating world you're just ghosted.
Yes.
And no one tells you, hey, I would rather just be friends. I don't think there's a romantic relationship here.
Yes.
As heartbreaking as it is, isn't it so much better than the call that never comes or the promise of a date that never
Because
comes?
I think that we've attached too much to it. I think we in general have played this game that it makes it hard for you to be, "Hey, I'm sorry this didn't work out," because you're trying to be politically correct, like socially, correct, and being like, "I don't want to hurt this person's feelings. I don't want to be rude." We think about saying no is always a rude thing, or
Yeah.
people are going to take offense to it. It's like we have too many emotions attached to it. Like, no, I don't. No, it should just be okay.
And I loved watching Connor tell the girl that he had been thinking about her and that he thought he liked her romantically, but he's now second guessing that.
Yes.
And so the mom and the brother encouraged him to call on the phone. And she was like, okay, thanks for letting me know. And he was so surprised by her receiving the message
Yes.
the way she received it.
Yes.
Because he doesn't have that filter on his face, he really could see it. And the mother was like, I'm very proud of you because that's really important. And she pointed to the brother who isn't autistic and said, you could learn a lesson or two.
Yes. Yes.
And it's true that, so I was thinking about, how you benefit from something, but also where the pitfalls are for, hearing a label and then someone just putting you in a box that really, yes, it meets the requirements for some things, but that doesn't define your
Right.
whole life or every experience you have. And I think of depression, and I think of being labeled depressive by a medical doctor or a psychiatric doctor is almost a death sentence in some ways because they want to medicate that to death.
Yes.
Instead of sometimes you have a reason to be depressed. Did you just lose your job? Probably going to be depressed. Probably pretty normal to be
Yes.
depressed. Did you lose a loved one? Probably pretty normal to go through the grief stages and be
Right.
depressed.
Right.
Did you just have a heartbreak? You're going to be depressed. Is it cloudy for 3 days in a row in New England? You're going to be depressed.
Yes, that is true. Not 3 days. It's like 3 months. 3 months of gray. It's finally like, when it rained and rained and rained, it's like yesterday was the first clear break, like in a while. And we played golf the other day, and we ended up coming off of like the 17th hole because it was pouring. And we had been rained on a few times, but we also brought gear for it. But yesterday, I didn't bring gear for it because we looked down in Jaffrey, and it's like there's no rain called for. We get on the golf course, and it's just barely spitting, and I'm like, shoot, I don't have a jacket. And it's starting to get cold, and you're like, oh, man. But when I first got home yesterday, the sun's out. You and I were rollerblading. It's a beautiful day. And I'm like, how did this happen? How did this gray come? And you're like,
And I started my showing at 4:00 and it started raining at 4:00 because I get out of the car. I'm like, are you joking? And I think back to when I was first learning to ride a motorcycle. I was going to a motorcycle riding class,
yeah.
and they called for rain, so I called back when they had phones. The business would answer phone, and I said, "Hey, so you calling this off or rescheduling it because it's going to rain?" And they said, "No." And I said, "But I don't plan on riding in the rain." And they said, "All motorcycle riders ride in the rain." And I was like, "No." Yes.
I don't think so.
Yes, you are. If you ride a motorcycle, if you golf in New England, if you do anything outdoors in New England.
So I think depression is a normal, like we all have it. We all go through it. We all experience it. I think some of the difference is how long are we holding on to that feeling? So I think there's a time to grieve, and there's a time to be depressed. There's a time to sit in it. But knowing it about yourself, say seasonal depression, knowing that it's
We're pointing to me in the studio. Seasonal depression. We're pointing here. Continue.
My mood is very much reflective of the environment. But it's also grief, the loss of your job. It's okay to go through a sadness in that grief. What you're not supposed to do is have it for 6 years, have it for 8 years. And you think about grieving a death of someone that you love, your spouse, your partner, your child, the same, you will always carry it with you, but don't keep it in your back pocket. Like, don't keep it in your body.
In your heart.
It's good to remember, but heal, because those people that have passed, they don't want us to suffer.
Mm-hmm.
They loved us. They don't want us to hurt. They don't want us to be sad for them. And I don't think that we give that enough due diligence, due thought. We don't think about that. Like, would this person really want me to be?
So it probably was 12 years after my father died that someone said to me, "Do you think your father wants you still upset?" That never crossed my mind.
Right.
In the whole time that I was mourning him, that he wouldn't want me.
But because I think, death is always harder for the people that you leave behind.
Yes.
And I don't think you think that. You're so busy grieving and the loss and the hurting to stop and think about, would that person really want me to be sad?
Mm-hmm.
Would they want me to be, no, they would want me to go living my best life.
Mm-hmm.
Or job, starting to look at it from, maybe there's new opportunities. Maybe this isn't the right fit for me. Maybe it's actually a blessing in disguise.
Or how do I make it a blessing? Because I think of my dad lost his job. It was like 20-something years with a company, and they were bought out by another company. And then everyone who had over 20 years was fired for time card problems, right? So he really wasn't fired over a time card problem. He was just, they didn't want to pay out a pension in a couple of years for him and a group of people. But I remember how devastated he was by job loss. And I remember thinking at the time, but we don't need them. Like, we're okay. We're not homeless just because you don't work. We have a rental apartment. My mother works. We weren't going to be destitute because of this. And I remember being 14, not really understanding what he was going through and thinking, well, just do something you like. And even my mother said the same thing. You love movies. Why don't you go work in a movie theater, go work at the time there was Blockbuster.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to provide. We're provided for.
Do something that you're fun.
Yeah, but he couldn't. In his head, he could not. There was only one role for him, which was a provider.
Well, but I think we've set it up for men for years and years and years, since the passage of time. The biggest label that they wear is they're defined by their job or their, career.
Their earning capability.
Yes. And so I think that, they go into it as young men thinking like, I'm going to be a provider. This is going to put me in that arena. And then when that's gone, you've spent how many years building this version of yourself?
Mm-hmm.
I'm a Wall Street journalist. I'm, a lawyer. I'm a doctor. I'm this, I'm that. I'm a CEO. And all of a sudden that's gone. When you've spent 20 some years putting into it, it's hard to be like, well, what now? Like, and it's hard not to feel like you're a little bit disposable. Mm-hmm. And so having that,
disregarded.
But I think sometimes, like, when you lose the job loss, how long does it take to process for someone to say, hey, I'm not defined by my career. Mm-hmm. I'm not just defined by a provider. Like, because, there's people out there that make great money that are financially providing for their family, but that's it.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have a relationship with your kids.
Mhm.
You don't like your spouse. You know, you're moody and miserable when you're at home. So there's other facets of your life that's just one arena. And I know when it happens, it's a big, you know.
What advice would you give somebody who has been depressed, normal, real reason, it's cloudy, he lost a job or something happened, but they feel like, okay, I'm depressed, but they're just like, there's no other feeling. Because I know for me, the problem for me in seasonal affective disorder is around the same time I wonder what's wrong. So I start looking for a problem, and then it comes in the journaling of what I think the problem is, that it's actually weather.
Yes.
But it took me a long time to figure that out. It took keeping a journal of how motivated I felt or unmotivated I felt to find out that I only have 7 good months. And then the rest of the time I am struggling with motivation because I'm struggling
Right.
with, and I wouldn't even, I am calling it depression because it includes that lack of motivation, but also I use that term depressive because things that I know I should like, I'm not liking them as much as I would like them 4 months ago, or if it was sunny out. Like I read 3 books and I can't get into any book, and I'm
Right.
like,
You're
okay,
like, "Ugh, this is
okay, so
yeah.
this is me.
Every experience is
Every experience is like, I know I should like this more than I'm
Yes.
liking it. That's like another
or
indication.
you want to like it more than you are actually feeling
yes,
it.
Yes.
My advice is action.
Yes.
Action.
And I think you start with,
And ask yourself better questions.
yes. And I think always having the foundation of, are you caring for yourself? Are you eating well? Are you drinking water? Are you exercising? Are you laying off of alcohol? Are you laying off of smoking weed? Are you laying off of pills or whatever other things that you're using possibly in a coping mechanism? Are you laying off social media, laying off watching television, doing things that keep you sedentary?
But even instead of like taking away, like, yes, I think that's important, but also, what am I doing to care for myself? Like we talked about, are you eating right? Are you sleeping right? You know, are you doing these things? But what are you doing for your spiritual, like your
soul,
your soul, but you're for your emotional health. So we're taking care of the body by, you know, eating, sleeping, drinking, you know, we're taking care of the body, but what are we doing for the mind? I think the mind is our soul.
Mm-hmm.
And what are we doing for that? And asking ourselves better questions of like, well, why do I feel this way?
Mm-hmm. Or can I control feeling this way? Is there something
Yes.
I can do?
Yes.
What in my control? What is in my control that would make me feel 1% better?
Right.
So one of my favorite books is 10% Happier by Dan Harris. Tiny book, thin, packed with someone who went on a quest, who was skeptical of meditation, going on a quest to figure out meditation. But I love that he was coming from the skeptic's view, because what I don't like about all those other meditation books
Right.
is they're coming from the believer. So if you're not a believer, you have questions.
Right.
And one of the things that I like, he's like, I'm a journalist, which Dan Harris is a journalist. He's like, I woke up under the goji tree enlightened. Terrible story. There's no story.
Right.
Where's the story? The story's the struggle.
Yes.
And I think that's what we forget looking on social media, looking out to the world is struggle. Our lives are struggle.
Yes.
And without that, there's no story. There's no good story, because you don't overcome anything. You don't develop resilience. You don't. It's.
So part of asking yourself better questions is like, why am I feeling this way? What makes it feeling? Going down that rabbit hole is, why do I feel the way I feel? Then you put a place to it, and then you're like, actually, no, that's not really it. It's this, or this. But yet we carry that anger towards our spouses, our friends, you know, past relationships.
Well, we want it to land somewhere, so we have something to attach to it, so we can be
Yes.
angry at the thing.
Yes.
versus, because for a long, long time, I thought depression was anger aimed in instead of out. Because when you're angry at them over there and you have a target for your anger, it feels different than when you're angry at yourself for whatever reason.
I'm not really sure how to process that, because yes and no, I think.
Yeah.
Because I think that life is being mirrored back to us.
Mm-hmm.
So our experience is our experience, and how our mindset goes into those experiences. So I don't think that you can have outwardly anger if you don't have inwardly anger.
Mm-hmm.
So I do think that it's that low, whether it's a low vibration feeling inside of yourself, but a lot of times we project it onto other people. We snap at people.
Mm-hmm.
We, pick a fight with people. We say crude things to people, because I feel like we're trying to get that out.
Mm-hmm.
And if we're in a low place, then that person is an easy target,
Mm-hmm.
because, okay, they do something that irritates me, but is it really worth all of that?
Yeah.
Y-
Anger
you know.
is a motivator. Anger
Yes.
is inciting. So when I look
Yeah.
at all of the, I'm trying to think of a better word than the word I want to use. So when you think about when people take on a cause, the easiest thing for them to do in that cause is get angry and destroy something,
Yes.
because anger incites to action. So for a long time when I was young, in my teenage years and my early 20s, I used my anger as my motivator for something better.
Yeah.
But over a long enough period of time, you're just burning up.
Right. But as long
You need another motivation piece.
So it's okay. I think it's great for it to be the spark, but it shouldn't be the fuel that keeps carrying you forward.
Agreed.
Yes.
Agreed.
So it's a motivator. So it's a spark. And what I've been,
And it's an easy emotion. It's a quick emotion. It's a
Yes.
habitual emotion. Emotion. We get mad at the supermarket. We get mad at the phone. We get mad at the TV.
Well,
we
because
get mad at the
it's
traffic.
easy
We
to
get mad at our
it's
spouse.
easy
We
to
get
be
mad at our kids.
defensive.
Yeah.
It's easier to be the wall than it is to be, it's easier to be the rock than it is to be the water. And so I'm learning to be the water and being flowing. It's always changing. So I try to process, you and I had a situation that came up, last week that was, just unsettling. And I just,
Infuriating.
yes, and ridiculous and rude and immature. But anyway, a little bit ghetto. It just,
Not making us 10% happier.
it's a white trash mob. It's not gonna say.
Which we could get into that vibe
Oh yeah,
real quick when it was poked.
yes. There's not a doubt in my mind that you and I can go ghetto real quick. But what I've been doing is just pausing. Of course, I've played out all these scenarios. I'm going to do this and do this and do this. And then I'm like, nope. I'm going to let those feelings just settle down. And why is this? And so instead of looking at the rudeness or the injustice of it, I've been asking myself, just slow down, Robin. Slow all those emotions down. And what is this trying to tell you? Is this a pivotal moment of where it's asking you to stretch and grow? Is this a stepping stone? Was this just a stepping stone? It's not meant for. So
Yeah,
in
is
the
there no
belief-
longevity in this?
Well, in the belief that I'm literally trying to practice, life is not happening to me, it's happening for me and through me.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to say, okay, well, why did this situation come up?
Mm-hmm.
What does this mean? So I feel like trying to resolve and not carry forward negative emotions.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think, yeah, we do. We have a choice every day which ones we're going to, as soon as you get out of bed, we actually are picking up, walking to the bathroom. We're picking up what we're choosing to, our state of being.
And that story that we only have so many thoughts, actually, and they tend to be the same thoughts. So do you constantly have really crappy thoughts?
Yeah, sometimes.
if you're saying the same things to yourself over and over
Right.
again, in addition to being quite boring. Sometimes in my head, as the narration's happening, I even say to myself, God, I'm bored.
I know.
God, I'm bored.
Yes.
When I was 6, imagining my fashion career, air traffic control, veterinarian life, all my careers, it's like, wow, this much laundry that is not folded is not part of that. Was
I
not
didn't
part of that
see
dream.
I didn't see that one coming.
That was not in my periphery.
No, but what we were talking about in that book, what it reminds me is, he wants to the struggle. Life happens in the struggle.
And
change
as a
happens.
writer, the story happens in the struggle. There's no story without the struggle. You
Right.
just saying you're enlightened, he's calling bull.
Right. So
calling BS on
so
that.
it also reminds me of like speak from the scar, not the wound. And that's what he's saying. Like, tell the story, but tell it from a place that you've healed.
Mm-hmm.
So not looking back, looking at the place where, oh, this happened to me, or this happened to me, or, so and so got divorced, 25 years ago, and I can't look at, we're still, our whole family's still divided, blah, blah, blah. Like, no, that means you have not healed. You're still speaking, hey, we had a hiccup in our family, we got separated, blah, 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 but we've been able to overcome all of this, blah, blah. Let go. It's not even yours to carry.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so that's what I'm doing, a self-evaluation. And I think that's what part of healing depression is like, why does this make me angry? Why does this make me depressed? Why does this make me...
Or why is what I'm going through making me feel this way?
Yes.
Because a lot of times what I would have to say when the season's changing, like I should actually just put it on my calendar every single morning.
Yeah.
The seasons are changing, shut up. There's nothing wrong. Because I'm like, I'm feeling so, and
You just need to write winter
winter blah,
blah.
on every single day
Yes.
starting in November.
or just write it real big.
Yeah, across the whole
Yeah.
week. I think I'm actually going to do that because
So you
every
just
year I'm
flip it up.
surprised by it. But then I'll talk to my girlfriend and she'll say, I don't know what's wrong with me. And I'm like, it's okay. Look outside. You haven't had sun for 3 days and there's nothing wrong. Come. And she goes, oh yeah, you're right. And then we get off the phone. Like she was calling me because she was like about to go vent into a story. And then she realizes, no, you're right. That's not even a story. I'll see you later.
It's like being, when you're younger and, women, sorry guys. But it's like you're an absolute bear and all of a sudden, everything's wrong with the world. Everything is wrong with the world. And then the next thing you start your period and it's like, I literally would say, I feel like as soon as I started, it was like, oh,
That's what was wrong with me.
you're like, damn. And then you're like, a heavy sigh. Like, oh my God, that was PMS.
Yeah, a relief. And it sneaks up on you
Right.
every month for 30 years.
And I'm like, why can't I have like foresight, not hindsight? And I'm like, I know it's coming every month. I know that this is going to happen.
And the rage is part of the because
Yes.
rage is blinding.
Yes.
So this is part of the
Yes.
thing. We've talked about it on the show before, but anger hijacks your brain. So the anger of PMS,
Yes.
the rage associated with PMS,
Yes.
takes 50% of the brain, throws it out the window.
My cortisol and dopamine levels are all off, man. I can't handle that.
Do you think guys have an equivalent of a period?
Yes.
I do too. And I don't think anyone ever talks about it.
Yeah, it seemed to be in alignment with mine. I'm like, you need to get on a different moon cycle, bro.
But maybe it is a reflection.
Yes. Yes. So I think if you're angry at the world, when you're talking about like anger out, to me, you can't spew that much anger out into the world if that's not what's holding it, what you're holding inside of you.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you have it suppressed, locked in a tiny little box somewhere, look how easy you have the key to it. Because you let that thing out in a minute, and it's it's like you're letting a mad lion out into the
Right.
a hungry wolf,
Right.
and he's like, "All right, let's go, let's eat."
Right. I remember I was doing a presentation and I wanted, they wanted this whole thing. And I'm like, I really just want to start here. So I opened up my presentation with a slide of like tons of skeletons and broken bones falling out of a closet.
Mm.
And because I wanted to be like, this is stuff we put away. It doesn't, what I was trying to say was, this is not the stuff we bring out.
Right.
And so then I was like, I was born in Somerville, Massachusetts. Next slide is the skeletons falling out of the closet. And then, whatever I was trying to talk about. But everyone came up to me afterwards is like, oh, I'm dying to know what the skeletons in the closet are. I'm like, every one of us has something we've stuffed back in the closet.
Oh, yeah.
Because, I was in my 20s. I had no idea how to.
Like, that's going back in there.
That was my coping skill. Put it in a box, put it in the back. Put it in the box, put it in the back. We'll take it out and look at it later. We'll evaluate that later.
Or sometimes you just bump into it and you're like, oh,
or you're trying to put more stuff in the closet and you're like, man, there's a lot of stuff in this closet.
Yes.
But one of the things I liked about 10% Happier that I think everyone can bring to their life is 1%. You're making 1% changes.
Yeah.
We get these ideas and it comes from that we're not good enough. And that's what the cult overarching narrative is, so that we'll buy stuff that we don't need.
It's true.
We do need stuff to buy, but there's a lot of stuff we don't need to buy. But it's if you don't feel good enough, and if you need to hack your way into better health, hack your way to a better career, hack your way. No, it's gonna take time. It's gonna take effort, and you're not trying to make. I mean, if your life is a complete disaster, you need more than 10%. But we're trying to just do 1% at a time.
But small shifts.
Consistently.
If you make a small shift each day, think about where you are, even in 30 days from now.
And if you could level out, one of the things that I thought was really interesting was every year Mental Health Awareness Month has a theme. And one of the themes was what exacerbates or even contributes to mental illness. Now, they were using the word mental illness at the time because they hadn't changed it from a PR perspective to mental health versus mental illness, because nobody wants to talk about mental illness, because that's such a negative. But to talk about mental health, well, that's a positive, and we want to talk about it. So one of the things they were saying is like there are exacerbators if you're on the cusp. And I think about like ADHD, for example, right? Routines, great, right? You can manage. There's this woman, Karen McGill, I think her name is, or McGill, maybe. She's an ADHD coach. She has a channel on YouTube. She talks about she wasn't diagnosed till like almost 50.
Wow.
With ADHD. And she accidentally kept it at bay by running, having a very, very strict routine, which included very, very heavy exercise, which kind of kept her managing everything until something happened that the wheels went off and, she gets her diagnosis. I looked up menopausal ADHD.
And
they say it's a thing.
Oh, I believe it.
Because estrogen is such a neuroprotector that when it leaves the body in mass, it leaves distinct holes.
Brain fog,
inability to remember things, a lot of short-term concentration, definitely. What improves that is exercise, good nutrition, regular sleep-wake cycles, plenty of vitamin D, getting some time outdoors. And one thing that we don't do all of the time is go outdoors for a large majority of us, because everything is screen oriented. We get to take our screens outdoors.
Right.
You'd think, we could spend more outdoor time.
Watch the Nature Channel.
Outdoors on your stairs.
Oh, God, you can't keep me inside. When it's nice weather out, that's all I want to do is I want to be outside. I'm creating our pool area. So like, you just want to be out there, even at night. Like it takes on its whole new life. And it's just, we were watching yesterday morning, I'm standing in front of the French doors and just looking out, and a hummingbird comes right up. And I was like, oh, please don't run into the glass. Like, I've got to put something up there so they don't. But just seeing all the life come about and just seeing all the spring, the flowers. And I walked out there this morning. I'm like, oh, my ranunculuses are getting ready, or they're blooming. And I'm like, oh, it's probably one of my favorite flowers in our whole garden. And I'm like, oh, everything's just coming to life. Like, how can you, I don't know, just being out there and being in it just makes you happy. Like, makes you feel peaceful, makes you feel calm. Like, we do lose our connection to nature. And I think that we are connected. But when we separate ourselves from it and living our life indoors all the time, like, you're not serving yourself. Just go sit outside. Like, what was that guy in the book? And he's like, go sit and stare at a tree for a half an hour.
Right. And I think of what kids were made to go outside and play. I was not allowed to be in my house because my poor mother could probably, we're in a small apartment comparatively to the living space today.
Yeah.
It's just, I want my space. I don't want you in this space. I want to vacuum. I don't want there to be footsteps on the vacuum lines. I want go outside. That was the thing.
Yeah.
You go outside.
Oh, yeah.
You
we
play
were always
outside.
outside.
I was by myself. Go make a friend.
Well, also, too, growing up, all we had was, you're lucky if you had like a boom box, but that didn't come until you were a little bit older. But when we were little, like, say 8, 9, 10, even 12, like growing up, we had 3 channels and nothing but soap operas come on during the day. And like, that's your only other thing to do inside the house. So like, why would you be inside? My sister used to bribe me and pay me to watch The Love Boat
with her
Fantasy Island. Like, it's always been hard to get me to sit still for watching something. Like, I liked Chips and like Emergency. I think it was Emergency
Dukes of Hazzard.
9. Oh God, yes, Dukes. Oh, yes, it was Daisy Duke. I had to be Daisy. We role played all the time.
Cagney and Lacey.
Yes,
We used to play Cagney and Lacey in the neighborhood, where so we just basically play cops and robbers.
Yes.
Which included a lot of hide and seek.
But
It
I
was a
felt like-
multi-pronged game.
But I felt like outside we really didn't have anything else either. But all of a sudden your imagination opens up, because you could have that same imagination inside. But for me, I don't know what that is.
Right, but you weren't allowed to do it on the furniture, or
Yes.
so it limited.
Well, so rainy days, my sister and I rearranged our rooms a lot
yeah,
because there wasn't anything else to do.
right. Lifting the furniture, putting it over there.
Dragging it across, like disassemble my bed,
Yes.
take it apart, and like, oh, that doesn't work. So we'd spend hours doing it. I just,
Yeah, one of the things we were going to talk about, and we'll get into it sometime this hour as well as next hour, is when I said, hey, do you want to talk about this Mental Health Month? And you said, yeah, I think we should talk about forgiveness. And we have wanted to talk about forgiveness multiple times, because it is in the book multiple times as we're talking about
Yes.
different subjects. So what do you think the role of forgiveness is in regards to mental health?
I think it's the beginning of healing. That's what I think. Being able to forgive yourself or forgive the situation.
Forgive your parents.
Yeah. Because you can't control the past. You can't control the past. All you have is right now. And if we're lucky, we have tomorrow. And so focusing on the right now is, I want to live in peace, and forgiving and letting go of things that hurt you and people that hurt you. We talked about it a little bit before. I'm a AA type personality, and I like the structure and things being very so. In growing up Southern Baptist, like, nobody believed in divorce, and watching my parents go through a divorce, and then you are blackballed from the church because,
Sinner.
right. And you felt, people are shaming you, and they don't even know why. My mom's sisters shamed her, and she actually even wrote a book about the abuse of living with an alcoholic. And they just completely,
What's the name of that book? Do you remember?
Standing Behind Myself.
Oh, interesting.
So she wrote, it's a small book. It's an easy read. She wrote it years ago. And I think a lot of that, she wrote it for, I think, healing herself, of being able to get it out and put it out there, but then to come back and not have any support from your sisters or your family, like, oh, we can't associate with you because you're divorced. So I always had this stigma around it. So when we were faced of, going through a divorce, I was like, I held on way longer than I should have because I didn't want that stigma.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want that stigma of it and the shame.
The label.
Yeah, the label.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to be, I'm divorced. I would always just put, like, when you have to fill out paperwork, are you widowed or divorced? Why do you need to know?
Right.
It's why I'm like, I'm single. That's it.
Right.
You don't need to know whether I'm widowed or divorced. It's not going to make a difference on my medical exam.
Right.
Is it going to give me? Are you going to draw my blood differently?
Right.
So just letting go of old narratives and learning to forgive myself where I needed to. In one of the things going through my divorce, I wanted my ex, like when we were still arguing about dividing up stuff, and
When you were in the throes of the separation piece.
yeah, like I wanted him to say he was sorry for the hurt that he had caused me. And I wanted him to acknowledge that, no, you're not all those things that I said in anger. Because I feel like I tried to acknowledge those in him and say, hey, we're both good people. We're still worthy to be loved. And so I wanted him to be like, you know what? You were a good wife. Because I really tried hard. But at 22, I don't know how to be a wife. I don't. And I feel like looking back, I was proud of me. But I was trying so hard to, like, I wanted him to be proud of me too. And my mom said, sometimes you will never, ever get the sorry that you're looking for. And so I had to let that go and being like, you know what? In that moment, slow process, I chose to be who I was going to be. I chose, even though we were divorced, that I was going to send him a happy Father's Day. I will celebrate his birthday by sending him a happy birthday. I will reach out and say, thank you for, giving me 2 beautiful kids randomly. And it's still just trying to be nice because at the end of the day, that's who I wanted to be. It didn't matter how he took that, processed it. I'm doing it for me. So maybe that was selfish, but it was also my way of forgiving me in actively choosing to let go of hurts. I can't change them. All I can do is be a better version of me. And that's how you change it.
What's the point of remaining hurt and going through the divorce? You're trying to rid yourself of...
Right.
If you're going through the divorce, aren't you supposed to be better after the divorce?
Right. Isn't that the whole purpose?
Isn't that the whole purpose of it?
Finding something that's in better alignment.
Right. If I'm someone happy here, shouldn't not having it in some capacity make a happiness?
But so many people get divorced and then they still, they're 5 years, 6 years, 7 years into their relationship and they have the exact same relationship they had because they're not bringing any new baggage. Like, you didn't pack a different suitcase when you left.
Yeah.
You're bringing the same crap. And then you expect a different result and we blame another person. Like, that's what we blame. Like, a lot of our anger, I think, is we blame other people for not doing things that we want them to do. But then we don't do it ourselves.
Oh, yeah. Expectation is 90% of the problem of everything. It's the problem we have with ourselves on things. We expect only a positive outcome, or we expect only good things. It's our expectation of the outcome.
Yes.
Instead of doing what you're doing for the pleasure of doing it or for the experience of doing it. It's we're very results oriented. And I don't know if that's a cultural country thing. If that's a people thing. Do we naturally, just as certain personalities, are we strivers? Like, I always wondered where my striving came from. And it took me a long time to figure out some of the striving is curiosity. Like, I always want to learn more. There's always going to be something out, like that part of it.
It's a beautiful way to be
But then some of it is desperation for because of not being good enough. So you're trying to absorb more. But so there was a little bit of both.
But at the end of the day, you are the only one that can make that decision for you, whether you're good enough or not. It does not matter what other people said. And it's kind of like going through the divorce. I wanted him to, I wanted him to acknowledge. And the truth of the matter is, I gave my identity away for many, many years. I was who my ex-husband said I was. I was who my boss said I was. I was who my parents told me I was. I gave it away forever because I didn't have that belief system in myself. So when somebody got upset with me and called me a name, I believed it because I also didn't grow up in a family where you name called. So it's a shock. So how could you not mean it? The first time somebody that you love and you're supposed to spend your rest of your life with says something ugly, you're like, oh, I didn't know not to believe it because how could you say something so ugly and not mean that?
Right.
I could not understand how, and I still struggle with that. Chris will say those are just angry words and blah, 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 but he's like, I still feel like it's hard to convince me even to this day. So it shows me my own level of growth that I still need to do. But it's still hard to convince me that someone says stuff out of anger, that there's not some underlying truth to it, whether it's how they feel, and that's they're voicing that opinion at that moment. But I always still think that there's an underlying thread of...
I sometimes think exactly that. Like, that didn't come out of nowhere.
Right. Right.
Right. It didn't fall from the sky.
Right.
But I've now know it's more actually a reflection of the person saying it.
It's what they're feeling inside. And so I try to be aware of, like, I can't be intentional about what I am reflecting out into the world if I'm not aware of what is going on internally in me. And I think we get so caught up in the rat race of, getting to work, paying the bills, getting kids to sports and, getting dinner on the table. And, we get so busy with life that we do forget to live it. And I think that we are meant to find joy, to seek joy, have forgiveness, and not carry baggage through. One of the things, even when we were struggling and I was dealing with a lot of hurt in our divorce, one of the things was I would still invite him over after we have our own houses. I would invite him over for the kids' birthdays. I would invite him over for Christmas because I felt like I wanted to support their relationship. And a lot of times, I was trying to still be the mother and still try to be the spouse of coordinating because I'm trying to nurture this relationship. But I got to the point, my kids were 10 or 11, and I'm like, we're not married. I'm no longer his wife. I'm their mother, but their relationship is going to be their relationship with their dad. I can't
be that relationship for them.
I can't put energy into that. It doesn't. So I just tried to support them in having a good relationship with their dad instead of, I would suggest, hey, you should go on a dinner date with your daughter. You should go on a dinner date with your son. You should do this. You should do that. In a polite way, not shoving it down his throat. Like, hey, it would be a good idea. And the way I said it was, what if once a month that we switched, we went on a date night with the kids. You took one, I took the other. So it wasn't like you need to go do this.
Right.
It was just...
And it gives you some alone time because you have twins.
Yes.
Right. So it gives you some alone time with one. They both get a little bit more specialized attention.
Yeah. I mean, for the longest time, I never knew what it was like to have just one-on-one time with one because we were always doing something together.
But they were born at the same time.
Yes.
They get their diapers changed
Yes.
at the same time. They ate at the same time.
Yes. But it just realized that I had to let go. I had to let go of that. It's going to be what it's going to be. And they're either going to nurture and grow it. I can't carry that anymore. But what I do want the best for them is I do want them to have a great relationship with their dad. Because I can look back at my life and being like, I want a great relationship with my dad. I want them to, as adults, to look back and feel like they were loved and had a good relationship with their, to me, that is love. And there's so many people that gets caught up in divorce and, so-and-so wronged so-and-so. And if you actually love that person, if you actually love that kid, why not do what's best for them? Why not support you and say, hey, that connection with your mom or that connection with your dad means something to you. I'm here to support you. It's not about my feelings.
Yeah, but children are the pawns.
Yeah,
They-
but how many people do we know that are adults are still doing that?
Right. Right. It's because it's a learned behavior
Yeah.
and it's easy.
Yeah.
It's very easy. It's very hard to be the bigger person. You know, I remember having the phrase, and I don't want to screw it up. You do better by living a better life.
Yes. I always say, like, once you know better, do better.
Yeah. But, you know, you think, a better life is the best revenge.
Yes.
Whatever you wanted to do out of spite or anger, the best life is just living your best life.
Yes.
That's the best revenge
Yes.
you can give. It actually is nothing to another person.
Yes.
But revenge is, by definition, is trying to do something to another person. So I learned that lesson, or I understood and believed that lesson had something to say by saying, you know, because there's another saying, revenge is best served cold.
Yes.
Right? But that
Yes.
means like you thought it was all over and then the revenge comes.
Just wait. Wait.
when you
Yes.
least suspect it.
Well, so I want to, so I do, so to me, to take it back to the question, I think that forgiveness is more about us. It's more important for us to have forgiveness inside of us, because then, you know, what we do is radiate out.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to hear what your thoughts were about forgiveness and healing or mental health.
Yeah. So we're going to be going to the top of the hour. I will answer that. We will go to the top of the hour. It is another Thursday with your favorite people, Lisa and Robin on the mic on WSMN 1590 AM, 95.3 FM. You can watch, stream, and listen on WSMN.live as well as YouTube. If you can, we are up on Spotify. If you could give us a listen and 5 stars, that helps us get
Subscribe.
up. Yep, you subscribe. And then if you could also subscribe and like on YouTube, that helps us as well. We are having a live event next Thursday at Baubles of Lace in Portsmouth from 5 to 8. We'll talk about that
You
this
should
week
come
and
on
next
down.
week.
We're going to have some champagne and trying on some fun outfits. It's going to
And-
be a great
yeah.
ladies' night.
Yep, a little bit of champagne and shopping, which is next Thursday. So stay tuned, and we will come back at the top of the hour.
WSMN 1590, WSMN 95.3 FM Nashua. Listen, watch, and stream at WSMN.live.